So let's see some researches about fraud. Let's see what's going on in the market and try to identify. So that's one of the researches done by Ernst & Young about, they just ask companies from different areas, from Central and East Europe, Western Europe, all about the same. More than 20% agrees that there's a suspicious fraud case in their organization. As other people said, not always you want to admit that there is a fraud in your organization. Somehow, many cases, you don't want to speak about it. We know personally, since Intellinx is working in the market for a few years, we know personally about cases of customers that found employees that have done misuse, abuse of their position. It was never published. They lay off the employee, it finished indoors, and not many wants to speak about it. But the fact that people know that there are cases of fraud. And that's a very interesting one, because it's talking about external fraud and internal fraud, and we'll see how many percentage are for each direction. But you can see that as long as your organization is smaller, you will see more external fraud than internal fraud. Why? Because you know better your employee. It's more intimate. It's a daily work you're working with. It's a 50 people organization, probably the fraud is very real. But as long as your organization is bigger and bigger, you're talking about 1,000 users, 10,000 users, and even more than that, it's growing. So in a medium size, it's external and internal is about the same. But when you're going to large and very large organization, the internal fraud is much bigger than the external fraud. Still, people are putting more effort, and we spoke about it on the external fraud. So actually, that leads to the question, how well you know your employee, because that's the key issue, to find this kind of fraud. So what is the fraudster profile? Is it a specific profile? As I said before, no. It can be a regular employee, it can be a manager, and it can be even a top management, executives, owners, etc. It's almost everyone. Another thing, is it a male or female? Yes, it's more male than female. I'm not sure that it's maybe because there are more men in the specific positions. So, but 61%, and the average case is higher in male cases. So lucky me that I'm a woman. I feel better in this position. What about how long does they work in the company? Again, I'm repeating what it was said here before. As long as the person working more in the company, he knows better, he knows the procedures, he knows how to do things that will not be found fast. So you can see that the average size and the numbers are going up. As people are working more than 10 years in the company, it will be a bigger fraud and more fraud cases. So your employees that looks like the best employee, the best performer employee, people that you are counting on, that you never thought that could be, those are the most dangerous in your organization than others. Also, the average years, it's 37%. You can see that it's really. So, as I said before, and that's maybe from all these slides, this is the most interesting one. From all fraud cases, according to this research, and this research is by the US Secret Service Insider Threats research for financial institutions. 78% from frauds are coming from internal approved users that are doing a regular, normal actions. Not something abnormal, regular transactions. They are approved users, they are using their user and password, they just abuse their capabilities. But it's a normal action. It's not something that will alert you immediately because they have done something that is not a normal one. So that's according to this research, and this number is amazing. Think about how much you spend in external fraud and how much you spend in this area. Also the detection methods, that will be amazed. You know, that's amazing issue. If you'll see how many cases you detect in a, you know, is there any procedure to find cases, to find a fraud? No. Most of the cases, like if you'll see by accident and tips, it's more than, it's like 60% in all cases, and even 70% if we are talking about huge cases. So by tips, by accident, not something that you have formula in place that says we must follow up about what's going on, how to do it in a better way, how to protect our assets better, that not just by tip we will find that there is such a huge case of fraud. And also that's coming from report of the associates of fraud examiners.